Hey guys, so this is going to be my breakdown of the Star Wars Episode 8 Last Jedi trailer that dropped at Star Wars Celebration on Friday, April 14th. And I was actually lucky enough to be at Star Wars Celebration, although I was not in the panel for The Last Jedi. I tried staying overnight, but it didn't work. But anyways, so let's just get into this. Okay, so the very first thing here, it looks like we have stars, right? This is actually pretty familiar for Star Wars trailers because if you can remember, the Star Wars Episode 7 final trailer actually had something that looked like this, except Rey pulled over some piece of metal, and that's what we thought the star was, but she opened it, and then we saw her face for the first time. So that's kind of a similar theme here because right here we have what looks like stars, but then we press play, and light slowly comes in, and then you see her look up right here. And what is she, what's happening right here? So we have a few things that could be happening. One, and this is what I think could be the most prevalent, is that she was having a Force vision, and she kind of just got out of it because we actually have seen her have Force visions from The Force Awakens. When she touched Luke's lightsaber, she had that Force vision. So, I mean, maybe she touched Act 2 and had some kind of Force vision of, like, things that have happened there. Maybe Luke was giving her some kind of Force training. I don't really know, but I do think she was kind of doing something with the Force, and then she was coming out of it there, and it's kind of too big for her mind to comprehend, and so she kind of like awoke there. So yeah, I'm breathing heavily. I always love when they show the Lucasfilm logo and play music. It's just a feeling you can't recreate. Okay, let's stop right here. We have Luke saying breathe. And then we have a beautiful shot of Act 2, Scully and Michael Island. And just right off the bat, the cinematography of this movie just looks amazing. And I love how each of the different directors, first we had J.J. Abrams, now we have Rian Johnson, next we have Colin Trevorrow, all have different kind of, their films look different. So Episode 8 is going to look different than The Force Awakens looked, and Episode 9 is going to look different than The Last Jedi looked. And from here, we can already tell, we've already seen a shot like this of Act 2, but it looked a little bit different than this. So just beautiful cinematography right off the bat.
Just breathe.
Okay, let's stop here. And we have we have Luke saying, breathe, just breathe. And right here, this shot of her looking at the water is almost similar to me of Justice League when Aquaman looked at the water. But, I mean, there's something that could be happening here. We have heard rumors of her doing some kind of training with some things in the water. I think that could be this. But, I mean, it's just a really nice picture of her, of Rey. I just love everything I've seen of her on Act 2, her with Luke, all this stuff. There's actually a picture that shows Anakin having this pose, Luke having this pose, and her having this pose, and it's really cool. But, like, what she's doing here, I don't really know, but, it looks great. I'm just so excited to see everything that Rey is going to go through with her training. I'm extremely excited.
Now, reach out.
Okay. Now we have Luke saying, now, reach out. And here it looks like, she's using the Force to lift some rocks up. Just like the way that Rian Johnson shot this, I think is amazing. It just looks great. Like, it reminds me of Looper because, that's a movie he did. But, she's definitely doing some Force training here. It almost looks like she's lifting the rocks up Superman's grave. BVS spoiler. But I'm just so excited to see her training. I keep saying this, but I'm so excited to see her training because my favorite part of Star Wars is Luke getting trained by Yoda and everything that was going on and just the evolution of his character and how he's so impatient and then he has to learn patience and now he's going to teach that to Rey. But I think he's definitely going to be more strict than Yoda was. What do you see? Okay, right here we have Leia, and we have Rey's theme playing dun 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 in the background, and then we have what I think is Leia saying, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi." And what this could be, obviously that's General Leia. At first, I thought that was Laura Dern, but from some behind-the-scene pictures we've seen, it looks something like that is General Leia. Definitely looks like a different kind of ship than we've seen. I'm not sure if the black in front of them is space or if that's just some kind of design model, but they're definitely looking at a map of whatever system they're in. And I wonder if this map is being able to be complete because of the piece of the map that was missing that BB-8 gave to the Resistance, which helped find Luke. And then we just have a few Resistance officers here and Leia looking out, and yeah. Light.
Darkness.
Okay, so let's go back here. We have Kylo Ren's mask, and then we have Obi-Wan saying he was surrounded by the dark side, or something like that. And what's interesting to me here is that Kylo's mask is really shattered. Like, it's not like he just dropped it and it cracked in half. Like, this thing was obliterated. And it's also really interesting because there's a lot of glass around it, and I do not believe that was from Kylo Ren's mask. I think this could be pretty symbolic that Kylo Ren is really not going to really use his mask, and that the character of Kylo Ren is evolving and the character of Ben Solo is really being embraced. And what I mean by that is I feel like Kylo Ren used this mask solely for the purpose of trying to pretty much cover up himself and act like he's tough. But now after he got that scar, I think he is really embracing who he is. That might sound cliche, but I really like that, and that he's not trying to be this technological terror like Darth Vader had to be, but he's trying to be his own person, kind of. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah. Okay, so now we have this like wooden, it looks like wooden. I actually thought at first this was the Bendu from Star Wars Rebels, just because I thought the thing on the left was an eye, but I don't think that's it. And then we hear Yoda say, "Shroud shush, spine shush," and just I can't really tell what that thing in the middle is. It could be a book. I feel like it could be a lot of books. It's just hard to tell what the scale of this is. It's so dark, you know. But I definitely think this is the Force tree, and I'll get into a little bit more of that later towards the end of this video. But yeah, this is definitely the most ambiguous shot to me. I remember seeing the trailer for the first time. I'm like, what is this? So yeah. Okay, this is cool. Right here we have what's presumed to be the Journal of the Wills, and if you don't know what the Journal of the Wills is, it's actually the very first draft of Star Wars. It was the adventures of Luke Starkiller as told from the Journal of the Wills, and a lot of people are thinking this is the Journal of the Wills. We have some handwriting to the left side in red, if you guys can see that. I'm not exactly sure what that says, as I don't read, Star Wars languages, but it's definitely interesting because the symbol that you see in the middle is the same exact symbol that Rey is making with her lightsaber in the Last Jedi teaser poster. So I think that definitely has something to do that Rey is the balance, because if you look at the teaser poster, I think there's a lot of symbolism in it. You have Rey holding up her blue lightsaber. You have purple in the middle, and you have red in it. The purple is the middle, and I think that's going to be interesting because Rey is going to be the light side, Kylo is going to be the dark side, and I think Luke is going to try to be the middle. And does that mean Luke has a purple lightsaber? I don't know. That would actually be kind of cool. We'll just kind of make purple lightsabers a lot more understandable because, there's a famous story of Samuel L. Jackson just wanting the purple lightsaber because it was cool, but there's a lot of, people that are like, oh, no, it makes sense because Mace Windu kind of had some dark side in him, so it mixes red and blue. And if that's the case, that's brilliant, but, that wasn't why he had the lightsaber. That was just kind of making up for it. But whose hand is this? That's my other question, because the last time we see Luke, his hand actually cut, his robotic hand is exposed. So, but we've also seen him in some pictures from the Last Jedi panel wearing a black suit, or a black robe kind of thing. So maybe he has some gloves with him to match the robe. But we really just don't know whose hand this is, and it'll be really interesting. I mean, if you had to bet money, I would say it's Luke. Because I feel like this Journal of the Wills has a lot of things in it that he's been reading and has really changed his perception of the Jedi. That's why at the end of this trailer he says the Jedi must end, and I feel like a lot of it is because the very first thing that was ever written about Jedi is his Journal of the Wills. And because he's looking for the Last Jedi Temple, you have to realize, and this is the Last Jedi Temple from what we know. So this has to be pretty much the Bible of the Jedi. And what he finds in there could change, his whole perception of everything he's learned so far.
A balance.
Okay, and then we hear Rey saying the balance. And like I said earlier, balance is going to be the key thing to Luke Skywalker's character, I think, and the plot of Episode 8.
It's so much bigger.
So much bigger. So we have what looks like badass training scene. I kind of want to just put the Rocky 4 music in, with Rocky climbing the mountain. It'd be interesting to see what kind of fighting style Rey is doing, because a lot of people, Star Wars nerds, but even more nerds than me, know exactly what the fighting styles are. I don't. But it looks like we have Rey training. I mean, it looks like Rey. pretty much makes sense to be Rey. And then we have Luke on the right side, and then we have this like rock. A lot of people, if you guys can look closely, you can see the top of the rock that looks like there's some circle. A lot of people have actually been speculating that that is Yoda. I do not actually believe that that is the case, just because Yoda's dead. But one thing I've kind of been formulating in my head is that, remember in Empire Strikes Back, when Luke is pretty much upside down, having to, levitate rocks using the Force. What if Luke takes that to a step further and makes Rey, like, put rocks on top of each other while she's also doing lightsaber combat to show, like, duality and being able to handle multiple things at once. And also you have to focus on balance, and balance is something that I've been talking about earlier in this video. So that's just something. But, I mean, that rock could just be, formation of the island, but it's kind of an obscure looking, like, I feel like it doesn't really fit in there. It feels out of place. That's what I'm trying to say. But nevertheless, it's a very, very pretty picture and shot and frame of Luke and Rey. Also takes us back to the last shot of The Force Awakens with kind of that helicopter pan around. That's what this kind of was. So it's cool that they're keeping those kind of things this Christmas. Okay, here we have some kind of ship looks like it's crashing. Notice in the background we have these AT-ATs, yes I said AT-AT, walkers, and what these things are different than previous walkers we've seen in Empire Strikes Back and stuff is that they're pretty much designed around gorillas and apes, and that's what they've been calling them, gorilla walkers. That's been what they say, what people have been reporting on how they look. They look like gorillas on 4 limbs. What I'm really interested in is seeing this new planet called Crate. And Crate is somewhere we haven't seen before in Star Wars, and it's definitely interesting. It looks like almost there was like a sea here that was been dried up. But what's interesting is these little ships here. It's like they're, red dust behind them. Then we see the ship crash, and then come back up, and then we see this wide shot of a bunch of those kind of ships. And to me, at first, I thought they were pod racers, which would have been an interesting choice, but yeah, I'm really more interested in seeing what Crate is. Is this the planet that Benicio del Toro's character is on? Why is there a battle happening here of all places? I don't know, but I'm really looking forward. I'm glad that they really didn't give away in this trailer a lot of plot elements. It's just a lot of things for idiots like me to ramble on, but I think Dash Star in his video breakdown was saying how the red dust almost made him think that there were enemies behind them and they were trying to like fog up their vision. So that would be kind of interesting. I'm very curious of why, like, what the red stuff is and why it's there, because it almost feels like every time they hit the ground that comes out. So I don't know. And then here we have Finn in sort of his bacta suit, and what's cool about this is we see in episode 5 Luke in his bacta tank, and in Rogue One Vader's in his bacta tank. And what's interesting is that the evolution of the technology has made it so it looks like, this presumably is Finn's bacta suit, because we've heard about it in rumors and stuff, but we've also heard that Finn is going to be jacked up in episode 8, so it makes sense that he's going to be in this kind of suit that lets him not just sit in a tank all day like Vader was in Rogue One when you see him at his castle in Luke after he was frozen to death almost on Hoth. So look out for Finn to be kind of new and renewed. And then we have a shot of Poe and BB-8 seemingly running to their X-Wing, which, if we keep playing, gets blown up right here. Seems like Poe needs insurance on his X-Wings, couldn't handle it being exploded in Force Awakens. Wonder if they have Geico in space. But, yeah, so Guy always has his X-Wing exploded with BB-8 there. And then if we keep going, we have TIE Fighter exploding, and then we got the Millennium Falcon. I'm curious what planet this is. I think if you had to put any bets on it, it will be on Act 2, but it makes me think who's flying it, because last time we see it, Rey and Chewie are flying with R2-D2 there, but Rey goes to train with Luke. So is Chewbacca flying this with R2-D2, or Luke and Rey leaving? Because I don't think the whole time they're going to spend on this movie on this planet. So I definitely think it's Chewie or Rey, or maybe Chewie and R2 wait to leave till Rey and Luke are ready to leave. I don't know, but yeah, it looks cool. Okay, now I got angry Rey running with a lightsaber. it's just really cool to see her training with a lightsaber in this new outfit, which I love. It makes me wonder like she looks pissed, so it makes me wonder if Luke has like really angered her in their training. Is Kylo Ren at this planet right now? Like, is she about to fight Kylo Ren? What's really going on here? But I can't wait to see the evolution of her fighting, and I mean, because we barely saw anything with her in Force Awakens with her lightsaber training. She didn't have any lightsaber training from what we know of, but here it looks like she's definitely knows how to run with the lightsaber, and that alone shows her progression as a character.
I only know one truth.
Okay, then we hear someone, presumably Luke, I think it might be Kylo Ren, saying, "I only know one truth." And we have a Kylo Ren without his mask, and we have a scar over his head, pointing his lightsaber at someone. I think that Kylo Ren is definitely going to be a huge part of this movie. He's going to be a little bit different. I don't think he's going to have as much light side in him as much, but he looks pissed off, and he's not going to wear his helmet as much. Like I said earlier, I think he's really going to embrace who he is and not try to look like his grandfather as much. He already does so with that scar over his eye and the long hair, but keep in mind he still has the same lightsaber model here, the ancient kind. Still very fiery. Looks like he hasn't made a new lightsaber since we last seen him in episode 7. And I can't wait to see him in this movie. He's going to be a different character, I think. As long as Raylo doesn't happen, I'll be fine. It says, "I know one truth." Okay, and then we have what I think is the most interesting shot of the whole trailer, and what it looks like is Luke and R2-D2 watching Luke's Jedi temple burn. And if you guys remember in The Force Awakens, the only shot we saw in any of the marketing or trailers of Luke was him touching R2-D2 and what looked like there was a fire in front of them. I think this is that same, I don't know if that's that exact same shot from a different angle, but this is definitely that same time period, I think. If it's not Luke's Jedi Temple, the only thing I could think of is this being Act 2, but I don't think that's the case, just from what it looks like, what we see. But this whole thing makes me think that this whole thing, just, I want to see everything in Rey's Force vision dissected, like, in the movie, it explains it in the movie, and this is, like, one of the main things. I want to hear about Luke's Jedi Temple, what happened there, why he's changed, why he's looked for the first Jedi Temple. And, like, this scene in particular, I think, is going to be just completely amazing. So, yeah. Then we have Phasma walking in. And if you notice this, they edit it so it makes it look like it's the same scene as Luke. But if you look at the ground is actually very smooth. And I don't think that's outside where Luke was. So if I had to guess, this is going to be the same hangar where Poe's X-Wing blows up. Because it's probably the Resistance, it's probably the First Order. Because we've heard the First Order is really going to have they're really going to try to get back at the Resistance for blowing up their Starkiller base, even though they started it. And what I like is we see like the shadows of the stormtroopers above them. I don't know, I think that's really cool. I think Phasma's going to be badass in this movie. Yeah, I can't wait to see her, because she kind of was a letdown in episode 7 just because of the marketing and everything of her, and I'm part of that. I bought a lot of Phasma stuff, but I can't wait to see her in episode 8. Okay, and then here we have some ships. What stands out to me most is that the ships just look like a different design. They look similar to the ships in episode 5, where Luke was getting his hand replaced after Darth Vader cut his off. But there's also a new looking A-wing in this shot. But yeah, so I'm also curious to see what planet they're above. It could be Act 2, but I don't think so. I think it's more likely Dakar, just because Act 2 from above looks more like there's more water there. But Dakar is definitely more land than water, so why is there a battle going over Dakar? I don't know, but hopefully we get that question addressed in the movie.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
Alright, most famous part of this trailer. It's time for the Jedi to end. There's so much that this could be. I think this is definitely, going back to what I was saying earlier, this is in the Force Tree. And if you don't know what that is, in the Star Wars comics Shattered Empire, Luke actually gives Poe Dameron's mother a Force Tree. And what that is, we don't really know, but it makes me think that Poe has some Force sensitivity to him just because of how crazy he is with his piloting skills. Yeah, so the Force Tree here, I think Luke is in it. If you brighten up this image, you can definitely tell how it's inside of a tree. And I think the tree is going to be pretty much what the cave to Yoda was on Dagobah, how it's kind of where he lives, and I think Luke lives in this tree on this island. I don't really know how it got there, but The Force tree seems to be a pretty big part of the movie. We've even seen set pictures from Episode 8, and there's this giant tree in the middle, and we've all been speculating, is like, what is this? But it seems like Luke is definitely in here. If you brighten up the image, you see Rey's staff, so I think he's probably telling her a bunch of stuff about the Force, about her past and stuff here, and then he says the Jedi must end, but I don't think that straight up is what happens. I think he says, look, I've read the Journal of the Wills. The Jedi have never fully succeeded. Jedi pretty much are to blame with their own falling because they were ignorant and didn't really open their eyes enough. The Jedi are too strict, pretty much, and that the Jedi themselves must end. We need to make something better than the Jedi. That's why the title of Episode 8 is The Last Jedi. Not that they are the last Jedi to ever live, but that they are the last Jedi, plural, being that there are going to be a new order of Force users coming up. And I think that's where the balance between the light side and the dark side is going to be key in this movie. And we've even seen that in Rian Johnson's Looper. He pretty much made a Star Wars movie in that with time travel and a kid who uses the Force. And I'm just so excited to see what he does with Luke, because Luke looks like a pretty mean old man right now. And I'm interested to see what happens with him and how he trains Rey, all that stuff. But just the balance of the Force is going to be the main thing of Episode 8, in my opinion. And I can't wait to see where they go from there. So that is going to do it for this video. If you like Star Wars, things like this, breakdown, subscribe to this channel. Also follow my friend, the Geek Keenan. He and I were just at Star Wars Celebration Orlando, and he posted my reaction to The Last Jedi trailer. So if you want to see what happened immediately, I actually said at the end of the trailer, because I couldn't hear Luke's voice, I said, "Wow, it's crazy. Luke still hasn't spoken after I saw the trailer, just because I couldn't hear. The audio was so poor." But yeah, subscribe to him and subscribe to this channel. And if you guys saw anything that I didn't see, if I missed something, if you got something else, or if you think I'm just wrong with some theories, let me know down in the comments. So that'll do it. Hope you guys have a good day. May the Force be with you always.